Hey everyone, I'm Pastor Jay and welcome to Simple Church Online. Whether you missed last Sunday, you're checking us out for the first time, or maybe even watching out of state, we're so glad that you're a part of our community. And we're praying today that as you watch, God would use this to bless your life. Enjoy the message. Oh, we're talking about taking a chance today. Good stuff. I'm glad that you're here. I'm excited to kick off this series. If you were here over these past, 8 weeks that we did our previous series, it's kind of my heartbeat is the apologetics and knowing why we believe what we believe. But I'm really excited for this series because we're just going to talk about Jesus. And man, I'm excited to do that, to encounter him, to see how he interacted with people, and to learn what that means about us. And so you came on a good week. As we kick off this series, all about taking a chance, all about living life to the fullest. And I want to ask you a series of questions, and I don't want you to answer out loud. This is kind of just an internal survey for yourself, and so you don't have to raise your hand or anything like that. But just internally, I want you to ask yourself, have I ever asked these questions, or am I asking these questions right now? Here we go. Have you ever asked these questions? Is there more to life than what I'm experiencing right now? Will I ever be enough? What is my purpose? How can I experience a full life? Is there something else that I should be doing? Is life just about surviving, or is there more? Why am I not getting more out of this Christian thing? And why am I not happy? I would imagine that if we went around the room and said, okay, raise your hand if you've ever asked one of those questions, or if you're currently asking one of those questions, that every single hand, if we're being honest, would be raised. At some point, we ask these questions in our life. Is there more to life than what I'm going through right now? Am I ever going to be good enough? Why am I here? What is my purpose? And the truth is, the goal of the last series was to get us a place to know where the truth is. And it's the truth that we just sang about, the truth that sets us free. Who the Son sets free is free indeed. We know where the truth is at. But if you want to get more out of life, then this series is for you. If you've asked any of those questions, then this series is for you. If you always thought that there was more to you and your purpose in life, then this series is for you. And I would basically say this series is probably for everyone. It doesn't matter if you're a teenager, if you're experienced in this world, it does not matter where you're at in that. We always have these lingering questions about life. So I'm going to say, if you're willing to take a chance, there's more out there for you. But it's all about taking a chance. It's all right there in front of us. A full life is waiting for you. God does not keep it hidden from us. It's right there. We just have to do our part to go get it. I'll say it like this. I've never won the lottery. That's why I'm doing this. No, I'm kidding. I'd be gone. No, I'm just kidding. No, not at all. I would be doing this here for sure. But I've never bought a ticket for the lottery. So I can't be mad that I've never won the lottery because I've never bought a ticket. And I think there's so many Christ followers who are frustrated about the life that they live, but they've never bought a ticket to the full life. Amen. They've never really went after what God has for them. And then they sit there, we sit there, I'm lumping myself in, and we complain about this life. I thought this was going to be more with Jesus, and God gets the blame for our shortcomings. We never bought a ticket to the full life. It's there, it's available. Guess what the price is? Free. We just choose not to purchase it because of our hangups, because of what we think about ourselves. A full life is waiting for you. You have to take a chance. You have to take a leap. You have to get out of the boat. You have to chase the line. You have to do something out of the ordinary to go after something special. But it's there for everybody. You're no different than anyone else. I'm no different than anyone else. We're all in this together. We're all trying to figure this out together. And right there waiting before us is the full life that we really want. In John 10:10, it says, the thief's purpose is to steal, kill, and destroy. So there's a very real adversary who's trying to keep you from that. And his job is just to ruin your life, ruin your marriage, to ruin your thought life, what you think about yourself. And Jesus said, my purpose is to give them a rich and satisfying life. or a life more abundantly, or life to the fullest, whatever version you want to plug in there. Jesus said, I came so that you can have the full life that you were always meant to have. And the truth is, Jesus trumps what the enemy's trying to do when we let him. It's up to us. It's there. It's available. It's our choice whether or not we're going to take that full life. Jesus didn't just come to give us heaven later. He came to overcome right now so you can live life to the fullest. We're no longer slaves to fear. We're no longer slaves to sin. He beat those things. In case you didn't know, you're on the winning team. It's all going to work out for you. Doesn't mean life's going to be easy. Doesn't mean everything's going to work out exactly like you think it's going to. I promise it won't. Jesus didn't promise that at all. He said, in this world you're going to have trouble, but take heart. I've overcome the world. Matter of fact, John 4:4 says this. 1 John 4:4. But you belong to God, my dear children. You've already won the victory over those people. What are those people? The liars, the ones who tell mistruths about who you are and about who God is. You've already won the victory over them. Because the Spirit who lives in you is greater than the spirit who lives in the world. Greater is he who is in me than he who is in the world. Here's the truth. Most Christians don't live that way. I yelled a lot in the first service, so just be ready. I barely have a voice left, but we're going to bring it, okay? And if you're not ready for this series, then you're going to be ready pretty quickly, because I'm going to say a safe estimate here that 85% of Christians do not live this way. At least 85% of Christians, American Christians, do not live a victorious life and believe that they are everything that God has called them to be. We just sang a song that said, there's a grave that holds no body, and that spirit lives in me. That power lives in me. We sang a song declaring that the same power that raised Jesus from the dead is what pulses through our veins every day. How many people go and live that on Monday morning at their job? I promise you it's not a whole lot of people, and here's how I know. I come to a church on Monday morning, and there's a lot of mornings that I come defeated. The enemy does a great job because people look at you when you're talking and saying things. And a lot of times it's just this. And you're like, I don't know if that made any sense. So it's very easy to come in Monday and feel like you were stupid, you didn't say the things that you wanted to say, and nobody cares about what you said. And so many people live beneath who they are in Christ. So many Christ followers are just trying to maintain, just trying to live day to day, just trying to get through it. And you were never meant to live that way. We've got a Lion Chasers manifesto out there that says, right on this back wall, if you've never seen it, go check it out, because this is one of the heartbeats of our church. And it says, stop living as if the point of life is to arrive safely at death. Go after something greater than yourself. Chase the lion. The life is there waiting for you, but most people are not experiencing the fullness that Christ has for them. Why? Because most people have not taken the chance to actually go after it. Most people sit in the shadows and they let other people go after that. And they think that they could never because of X, Y, Z. I don't know the Bible as well as this person, or my past is blah, 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 right? We come up with all these excuses about why we can't. And then we wonder why we're not experiencing the fullness that God has for our life. And then ultimately, God gets the blame for it. It's a pretty raw deal for God. I'm sending my son to overcome the world, to bring you full life, everything you need for free. All you have to do is believe it in your heart and live that way. And we say, God, why do you hate me? And why is my life this way? Pretty raw deal for God. So, I hope you hear my heart through this series. I'm going to be passionate about it. I'm going to beat the table a little bit. We're going to step on toes a little bit, because sometimes we need it. Sometimes the church is there to check us. Sometimes Scripture is there to check us. God disciplines those that he loves. So it's okay to have your toes stepped on a little bit. But what I want to encourage you with is God's grace and mercy and love that's new every single day. And that's what the picture of Jesus was. And so as we go through this, what we're going to do is we're going to look at encounters with Jesus and see how he speaks over us and what he says about our life And these are the things that we need to take a chance on because that's what Jesus took a chance on. So that's what we're going to do through this series. Listen, I hope that you're challenged through this, but I hope that you're encouraged as well. And the first thing that I want to talk about, because I think the rest of the series is going to hinge on this, I'm going to ask you to take a chance on yourself. Take a chance on yourself. And I'll explain what that means here in just a second, because I know most people would not bet on themselves. Most people would not take a chance on themselves. Most people believe that they are not good enough. There was an old SNL sketch, a guy named Stuart Smalley. How many of you remember Stuart Smalley? How many? Yeah. Back when SNL was funny, and I've had some debate with the young people, it is not funny anymore. It is ridiculously stupid. So anyway, we won't get into that debate. Back when it was funny, I'm just going to declare that, there was a guy named Stuart Smalley. And he was kind of a counselor, therapist guy, and it was a hilarious bit. And he would have these guests come on. There were always these famous people. I remember when Michael Jordan and Charles Barkley were on there, and he would always like dig into their soul, and they would end up crying and like sharing like all the stuff about their life. And at the very end, he would have them turn and look in a mirror, and he would say this phrase. And I want to know, is there anybody out there who can get word for word what Stuart Smalley used to say? Anybody? Raise your hand. Who's got it? Who's going to man up on it? Nobody is confident enough. See? Take a chance, man. Take a chance. Take a chance on $20. Let's go. Anybody for $20 want to do it? Somebody said in first service that it was, look what I can do. That's the Mad TV guy. That's look what I can do. That's that guy. No. I just wanted to do it again. It was such a great moment in first service because I didn't expect them to say that, and then I did the little jump thing. Anyway, nobody, $20. Going once, going twice, okay? You got it? Close enough. All right, I've never done this. I don't know. I'm going to go back here. I don't know what the mic will do. Okay, I've never went off stage before. This is kind of cool. Okay, I'm going to be winded. That's fine. I really am. I'm so out of shape. Yeah, I took a chance on, not dying there. I'm good enough, I'm smart enough, and doggone it, people like me. So he'd have them turn and they'd say this, and it was like this overwhelming thing because he wanted them to believe what they say about themselves. And I bring that up because if people said it about themselves, a lot of Christ followers, I think they would say, I'm probably not good enough. I'm probably not smart enough. And doggone it, most people probably don't like me. That's the overwhelming thing that I've gotten from Christ followers, is there's just no confidence in who they are. And I live that life. I go through that as well. You know, when you do when you public speak, you're really putting yourself out there, just like any artist. And there's a lot to that. There's a lot of weight that you feel. And so I totally understand that. But I think most people don't experience the fullness because they've convinced themselves that they don't deserve it. Because of their past, because of decisions they've made, because of current sin that they're struggling with, because of what someone told them when they were younger, because of what a church told them, they've convinced themselves that they don't deserve a full life in Christ. And I think far too many people live beneath who they are in Jesus because of that. There's an artist that I really like, and I'd like to read just a little bit of what he says, and I think that I really connect with this. And if you've ever struggled with this idea of not being enough or not feeling like you're good enough or that you don't deserve things, then maybe you'll understand this. And this is what he says. It's strange the way the mind can wander, but also stop to gossip and chat with memories that you and me aren't really fond of. Maybe you're out to find love. Maybe you've lost who you was. Maybe you're just like me and feel the need to stay in your rut. Because if you left it, you might feel like you're no longer you. It's so impressive the way the mind can play with the truth. It's interesting that nobody can walk in your shoes but still relate and feel the same way. So in a way, I guess we do. You ever think about what it would be like if the clouds were gone and you could see light? If the door was open, would you take flight? Or just close the curtains up and stay inside? Take a walk with me. Take a risk with me. I'm scared too, and it gets so tempting when you're so empty to disown everything you hold dearly, when you know clearly you've been so buried in your own fairy tale, the soul's tearing a bunch of holes in me. I relate to it, but in case you've been thinking no one does, here's a great theory. Throw a Hail Mary, let your mind fly to the sunrise. Could be so scary, make your faith vary, feel the pain glaring, but the weight carried ain't in vain, hear me. That's from a rapper named NF, and if you like rap, I would support that. Nothing wrong with supporting Snoop and Ice Cube and those guys speaking a lot of truth and grace and humility into the world and love for women and all that. But maybe support a Christian artist. I'm not dogging. If you went to the concert, I'm not dogging you. I'm just saying maybe we support some Christian artists, instead of like, I'm Snoop, look, I do this or whatever. I grew up on Snoop. It's fine. I'm just saying. That was my crip walk. You ever seen somebody crip walk in church before? I don't even know how to. Mine looks bad. Anyway, I tried to get my son to come and rap that part because he can rap all of NS stuff and he's so much better than me, but he was scared to do it. So, what's up? You got the flat bill on. You should be up. Why are you not doing it, man? Why are you scared all of a sudden? Anyway, I think a lot of people feel that way. Like they feel the need to stay stuck in the rut. Because what happens if I leave this? What happens if I try something different? What if I go after something and it doesn't work out? What if? And we convince ourselves that this is just how life is. And that's not what we were meant to experience as Christ followers. Christ came to give us life and life more abundantly, life to the fullest. So what does God say about taking a chance on yourself? What does he say about you? I think that's the place that we need to look. And the best way to do that is to look at Jesus and his encounters with people, because he was the representative of God here on earth, face to face with people. So how did he interact with people, and what did he say about them? And ultimately, what does that mean about me and you? Let's go to John chapter 8 as we look at this story. It's the woman caught in adultery, and if you've been in church, you've probably heard this story before, but I want to take a little different look, and I want to kind of put us in here and see what Jesus is speaking over us. So let's start the story here in John chapter 8, verse 1. It says, Jesus returned to the Mount of Olives, but early the next morning he was back again at the temple. A crowd soon gathered, and he sat down and taught them. And as he was speaking, the teachers of religious law and the Pharisees brought a woman who had been caught in the act of adultery. They put her in front of the crowd. Teacher, they said to Jesus, this woman was caught in the act of adultery. The law of Moses says to stone her. What do you say? So let's kind of stop there and let's set the scene of what's going on. Jesus has begun his ministry. He's been healing people. Again, he has crowds following him because a lot of people know about him. And he's been going to the temple to teach daily. So again, they're basically having church service. And by this point, he's talked a lot about God's grace and love and mercy. And the religious leaders and the Pharisees, who were the religious guys, kind of maybe the pastors, if you will, or the overseers of the day, they did not like Jesus. They didn't believe he was the Son of God. They didn't believe his claims. They called him a blasphemer, a liar. They called him the devil himself. I mean, they just did not like Jesus. And so they started looking for opportunities to trap him, to get him, to kill him. That was their whole goal. They were so incensed by what Jesus was saying that they wouldn't even listen to what he had to say. You know what I'm saying? And so here's these guys, and they're trying to trap Jesus. And so what they do is, in the middle of a church service, it would just be like right now, someone coming through, busting through the doors, and throwing this woman right here in front of us and saying this woman was caught in the act of adultery. And the law of Moses, Jesus, says to stone her. What do you say? Now, they were right about that. Deuteronomy, Leviticus, that's exactly what it says. The person should be stoned. So they put Jesus in a tough situation because, one, if he says, no, we're not going to stone her, he's going against Moses. And now all these Pharisees can say, look, I told you he was a liar. He's going against the law of Moses, your forefather. We got to get rid of this guy. But if he says, yes, let's stone her, then it does two things. One, it goes against the grace, love, and mercy that he'd been preaching. And two, it goes against the Roman government. Because it was the Roman government who executed people and who said that they were ready to be executed. So if he said, yes, I condemn her to death, then they could have been like, oh, okay, well, we're going to go get the Roman government because it's the Roman governor's job, not yours, to say this. So they put Jesus in a really tough spot. But here's the truth about this situation. And here's the truth about our lives in the world. It's a lie. What they did was all a lie. Now, not what she did. She was caught in the act. There was never a time when it's like, oh no, she didn't do this. She did. But one, they catch her in the act of adultery, which is very interesting. And then secondly, who should be stoned in the law if this happens? The man and the woman. Where's the man at? They didn't bring the man. If they caught him in the act of adultery, where's the man at? They bring the woman. Why? Because they didn't really care about the law of Moses. They didn't care about the truth. They wanted to trap Jesus, and they were using this woman. That's exactly what the world does to people. It makes everything look so enticing, but all it does at the end of the day is just use you for whatever reason the world wants to use you. It's what people do. And they come to Jesus, and they throw her down in front of him. They say, teacher. Another version says, master. Well, what did we already say that they called him? Liar, deceiver, devil. And so now here these guys come and they say, oh, great master, oh, great teacher, what would you do? Isn't this what the world does? It just takes things and it twists it just enough to trick you into believing the lies that it wants to tell you about yourself. We see this from the very beginning. We talked about this months ago. We see it with Adam and Eve. The deceiver comes in and he didn't say, hey, you should reject God and turn your back on him as a horrible God. No, he says, wait, did God really say this? Are you sure? Think about that again. I think he said it this way, just enough to trick them into eating the fruit. And the scheme is still happening now. The world does just enough to get in your ear to tell you mistruths about who you are in Christ. You could never because you did this. You'll never because you fill in the blank. Just enough to trick you. Just enough to set the trap for you. And the truth is, the world's pretty good at it. The world's pretty good about beating us down and making us think we're less than we are. So that creates a problem for Christ followers. If we're supposed to live above that, but we constantly have the world coming against us, telling us lies about ourselves, how do we counter that? Jesus. Listen, I'm not here to give you some crazy answer about how to deal with life. I'm here to give you Jesus because he is the answer. He's the truth that sets you free. That's what we talked about in our last series. So enter Jesus into the picture. And starting in verse 6, this is what we see. They were trying to trap him, like we said, into saying something they could use against him. But Jesus stooped down and wrote in the dust with his finger. They kept demanding an answer, so he stood up again and said, all right, but let the one who has never sinned throw the first stone. Then he stooped down again and wrote in the dust. When the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest, until only Jesus was left in the middle of the crowd with the woman. Jesus' voice trumped every accuser in that room. You want to know how to defeat the lies, the mistruths, the voices that you hear every single day? Let Jesus' voice be louder than any voice you hear. That's how you're going to do it. That's the only way to do it because it's never going to stop. You're never going to reach a point in your life where you have arrived. You're always going to have the enemy coming against you. Now, it's going to be different ways at different times in your life, but the enemy's always coming against you, and you've always got to be ready. Now, we know we have the victory. We know it's been defeated, so we have confidence over it, but we better be ready for it. It's showing up every single day. I'm almost 22 years into ministry, and you keep thinking, after 22 years, it's going to get easy. I'm going to feel really good about church every single Sunday. There's not going to be any lies told to me. And then Sunday, right before I get to preach, the lies start happening. Who are you to get up and tell people anything? Why should anybody listen to you? And on and on and on it tolls. But I've learned that when Jesus' voice is louder, I drown those suckers out. When Jesus' voice is louder, and it's not always louder. It's got to be the loudest voice in the room. Now, we don't know what Jesus wrote in the sand. A lot of speculation about it. I do think it's important because it's the only time that it's recorded that Jesus wrote something. There, other than scribes, people who actually wrote stuff down, they didn't really write a whole bunch of stuff back then. And so this was significant for Jesus to be writing something. I've heard that he was writing some scriptures from Leviticus or Deuteronomy about sin and some of those things. But I think the most compelling and maybe the most true is that a lot of scholars think that he was writing the sins of the Pharisees. Began scratching down. And I heard someone say this week when I was studying this, a commentator say, I believe that he was writing the names of some women in that sand that the Pharisees would look at and remember by the time they went astray, that they weren't everything that they thought that they were. And it says that from the oldest to the youngest, they walked away. And again, it's like, why was the oldest? Why did the Bible put that in there? There was the oldest to the youngest. And I think there's a couple of reasons for that. One, I think that they were smarter, and the younger ones were probably just eager to stone somebody. But I think that the weight of their past sin for the older ones was weighing on them. And as Jesus wrote that out, they walked away because they broke under the weight of what Jesus knew. Regardless, Jesus' voice trumped everything else in the room, and every single one of those guys walked away. And Jesus was left with the woman. So if we're gonna learn anything from Jesus, it's this: his voice better be the loudest thing in our ears. Pastor rant. That means we're going to have to make some changes. I promise you this: if social media is the loudest thing in your ear, you will never fulfill your destiny. I'm not against social media. Use it, that's fine. If it's the loudest voice in your ear, you will never live the full life you were meant to live. We got to start changing things. Something's not working. If you're running through the rut of day after day and I'm just surviving, and is there more to life? You need to change something. Maybe you don't need to watch all of that Netflix series. We're so concerned with Yellowstone and what's happening there that we don't even know anything about God. Right? We want to see what the Tiger King's doing. What's he up to? I don't know. It doesn't matter. I'm not condemning all of TV and everything, but I'm saying maybe we need to switch it up a little bit. I hear so often I don't have time to do these things. You have time. You just give it to what you care about. And listen, they say every time a pastor points somebody, he's got three right back at him. I promise you I'm in the boat too, yes. But I have learned in my life that if I want to hear Jesus louder, I've got to drown everything else out. You're having problems with your kids? How much Bible are you reading with them? You're having trouble in your marriage? How much time are you spent praying together? You sitting down together and binging your latest show is not the fix. You checking your social media for hours is not the fix. It does no good for your soul. Time with Jesus, his word, speaking. If I went to you right now and I asked everybody, yes, I'm worked up, okay, forgive me. If I came to you right now, every single person who's a believer, and I said, do you believe that this is the truth and it speaks over who you are and it gives you the directions for life? Every single one of us would say yes, but how many times do we open this? I wish, and this is my kids, they're on me all the time. I'm just that old dad who's saying stuff about, social media, I'm that old guy or whatever. If we had our phones, I wish we could just get them and break them. Those things are worthless. They do nothing but distract us. The only good thing about it is it has the Bible app on it. Other than that, let's be honest. And again, I'm not this let's have a book burning and go crazy. I'm like, let's wake up. Let's wake up. We are distracted. And again, the devil didn't come and say, hey, you should be an atheist and hate God and murder Christians. He said, hey, spend a little more time on your page here and just kill a little more time. That's what the deceiver does. It's not going to be outlandish things. It's not going to be crazy things. He's going to do whatever he can to distract you from the voice of Jesus, the one true voice in your life. So what I'm saying is change it up. Whatever you need to do. You battle with porn, throw your stupid computer out the window. You don't need that. Yeah, is it going to be weird for you to do some things? Yeah. Are your kids going to be mad at you? Yes. So what? If that leads to a better life, a full life, then do it. Let them be mad at you for a little while. We set screen time for our kids, and we're the worst parents on the face of the earth, aren't we? No other parents do this. Here's what I told my kids. I'm sorry, your friends' kids are terrible parents. That's not true, especially because Aaron and Gina are right here. In the first service, everybody was like, I'm not talking about them. I'm talking about all the other ones. So what? Set some screen times for yourself. Let someone go in and lock in your screen times that you can't change the password on. There's got to be a different way. So many people are unhappy, and God's getting the blame when we don't give him any time to speak into our lives. Something's got to change. And now's the time to change it. Take a chance on yourself. Take a chance on believing what God says about you, but you got to hear it to know it. And Sunday morning for 1 hour is not going to be the fix, I promise you. I hope it's a little pick-me-up, man. I hope it encourages. I hope it equips. I hope it challenges. That's great. But this is not the place to hang all your faith on. That's during the week. Change some things up off the high horse. Somebody asked me that. How do I do that right? That's why I answered that. Thank you for asking that. I didn't just rant. Okay, thank you. Anyway, we'll take a drink. This is always the awkward silent moment. I'm passionate about this stuff because I'm tired of it. I'm tired of Christianity walking out the doors and Monday through Saturday looking like everyone else. You know what it is? It's a slap in the face of Jesus on the cross when we live a mundane life. It's saying, hey, thanks for doing that, but I really don't have time to really invest in that. Thanks for getting me out of hell. That's cool, but I'm going to live my life. It's just a slap in the face. We were meant to live life to the fullest. Now, what's full is completely different for everyone else. It's not money. It's not things. It's not all that. That's not what I'm talking about. You're not going to have all the money in the world. Matter of fact, when Paul penned those words, I can do all things through Christ, he had nothing to do with winning football games or anything like that. What he's saying is, I don't care if I have a lot or if I have a little bit. I can handle anything because of who I am in Christ. That's contentment. That's a full life right there. No one's ever been on their deathbed and said, you know what? I wish I would have brought a little bit newer car. Like if I just would have, I should have taken that lease out. It would have been fine, you know. Like, or I wish I would have had a little bigger house. No, they say, you know what? I wish I would have had more time with my kids. I wish I would have loved a little bit more. I wish I would have went after that thing. I wish I would have started that business. I wish I would have done that thing. And what I'm saying is, take a chance. Don't do it on your deathbed. Do it now. Be that person now. Make that change now. Why not? Go after it. What's going to happen? You fail, so what? Are you enjoying life now, just in the mundane day-to-day? It's not what you were called to do. You were called to live life. And so we see Jesus, and his voice was louder than any other one in the room. And he's standing in the crowd of people, and all the accusers have left, and he's left there with this woman. And in that moment, Jesus has all the power and authority in the world to condemn her and say, you know what? You're a sinner. It's despicable. You're dying right here, right now. Let's see what Jesus does and what he does with us. It says, when the accusers heard this, they slipped away one by one, beginning with the oldest. And it says, then Jesus stood up again and said to the woman, where are your accusers? Didn't even one of them condemn you? No, Lord, she said. And Jesus said, neither do I. Go and sin no more. Now, Jesus didn't condone her sin. So many people have misused this. He is without sin, cast first. And that's not what that means. He didn't condone it. He told her, listen, you need to turn away from this life. It's not healthy for you. It's not good for you. Find something else. But he did not condemn her for it. He did not tell her she was not worthy enough. She wasn't worthy of his love. He said, I don't condemn you. Go and sin no more. And there's so many of you here today who have condemned yourself or allowed the world to condemn you into believing something about yourself. That I will never be blank. You fill it in. I'll never be a good husband. I'll never be a good Christian. I'll never be a good parent. I'll never be patient enough with my kids. I'll never start that business. I'll never be kind enough. You fill in the blank of that thing that the world has convinced you about or that you've convinced yourself about. And we, for some reason, because we've listened to the lies of the enemy, we have convinced ourselves that we can't achieve these things. We have condemned ourselves to this kind of life. I'm just meant to live like this. And Jesus was the only one in the room that day who had the authority to condemn the woman, and he didn't. And let me just say this to you. Maybe this will set you free. You do not have the authority to condemn yourself. And some of you for 20 years have been condemning yourself for something that you chose to do or a life that you used to live or whatever the case may be. Some of you right now are condemning yourself for a sin that you're doing right now. You do not have the authority to do that. You are standing in the place of God. He is the only one who has the authority to condemn you, and he doesn't condemn you. He doesn't condone the sin. He knows that it's leading to destruction for you. He wants you to change your way, but you are not condemned in his sight, and you don't have the authority to condemn yourself any longer. As far as the east is from the west, that's how far he removes our transgressions from us. Some of y'all are bringing up something that happened 20 years ago, and God's like, I don't know what you're talking about. Why are you bringing that up again? I forgave you. I washed you clean. Are you telling me Jesus' blood isn't good enough for you? You're telling me that you have to keep coming back to this? No, I forgave you, and I'm the only one who could do it. Stop condemning yourself. You don't have the authority to do that. And some of you all need to free yourself from that, from the lies that you've believed in your mind. Stop condemning yourself for something you can't condemn yourself for. Stop standing in the place of God and actually take a chance on believing who you are in God. Take a chance. Take a chance on going all after this, who you are in Christ, and see if it's not the most fulfilling thing you could do in your life. Because what's the truth of God? What does he speak over you? We speak lies over ourselves. I'll never be good enough. I'll never be smart enough, whatever. Here's what God speaks over you. Here's a list of everything that God says about you. You are a new creation, God's workmanship, valued, part of a chosen race, a royal priesthood, a child of God, beloved, holy, fearfully and wonderfully made, more than a conqueror, an ambassador for Christ, a co-heir with Christ, light of the world, temple of God, friend, redeemed, God's chosen ones, justified, holy, the righteousness of God, free, forgiven, known, loved. That's what God says about you. You have no authority to say anything else about yourself. That's what we got to start going after. Take a chance on that. Take a chance on all those things being true about you. Stop thinking that's for someone else, for a pastor, or for somebody else. We're all in this together. In the same life, the full life is right there for everyone. You just have to choose it. You have to go after it. You have to take a leap. Go after that thing, whatever that is for you. Chase after Jesus and see if you don't have the fullest life that you've ever experienced. And if you're not experiencing that now as a Christ follower, it's time to change something up. I would guess that Jesus' voice is probably not the loudest voice in your life. It's probably the problem. There's probably some kind of barrier, that there's some kind of wall that you've put up because of your past history, because of pieces of you don't want to give him, or there's chains from things that you're holding on to or things that you're currently doing that are keeping you from that life. It's time to start breaking walls down. It's time to start breaking chains. And it's time to go after the life that we were promised that's right there in front of us. If you want more out of this Christian thing, you got to put more into it. God's done his part. He sent Jesus to die in our place so that we could experience a full life. And not just heaven. Not just the beauty of eternity. That's fantastic. But right now, right where we live, right where we stand, we've been promised peace and joy if we choose it. But you got to let go of the things that you're holding on to. You got to stop condemning yourself for things that God's already forgiven you for. Go and sin no more. He's not condoning it. Change your habits. But stop condemning yourself and allowing the enemy to make you believe that you're less than what you are. You are a child of God. You are forgiven. That's what he brings. You don't have to live in fear anymore. And for some of you, this is going to be the beginning of a path of healing and restoration for you, whether it be your fault or someone else's fault. And my hope is that through this series, as we see the encounter with God, we start taking chances. I don't want to get to the end of my life and wish that I would have done things. I don't want to get to the end and wish that I would have really went after Jesus. I want to do that now. And I'm telling you, as I'm doing that, he's unfolding the greatest life in the world. I don't have everything I want. All that stuff doesn't matter anymore. When you get to, y'all who are with me are 40 and older, you get to that point where it's like, all that stuff is pretty pointless, man. I want my kids, I've got a 13-year-old and a 15-year-old, and I've got a few years left. I want to enjoy the heck out of them. That's all I want. I want people to meet Jesus and know him and love him. That's it. That to me is a full life. And I would just love to see Christians, Christ followers, just unite in chasing after that so that the world looks and says, you know what, whatever that is, man, I want that. I want to experience, whatever you're experiencing, man, I want to experience that. And we get to say, hey, it's just Jesus, man. That's what he does. Let me pray for you. Father, today, thank you for this truth that we have, that while we were still sinners, Christ died for us. It's not about being good enough. It's not about looking or thinking a certain way. It's about accepting the fact that Jesus died in our place. And that because of that, we are overcomers, that we are co-heirs with Christ. And so I just pray today that people start to believe that. And I know there are people in the room who have battled with this self-doubt for years. They've probably lived the majority of their adult life believing that they would never be good enough, that God could never really love them, that their past defines them. And I pray today that we start breaking those chains. And there are people in this room who are just living day to day, and they feel lost, they feel purposeless. And we were never meant to live that way. We were meant to be bigger than that. And so God, there may be things that they need to change in their life. They may need to do something big, go after something big, or it may just be small changes. Whatever it is, we've got to start going to you to experience that full life. You're our overcomer. We don't have to be afraid anymore. We don't have to live in fear of our past. We don't have to live in fear of what we used to be, because we know we're a child of God. And let that truth be the loudest in our ears. Once again, thank you for stopping by today. We'd love for you to be a part of our family at one of our services at 9 or 11 on Sunday. You can find out all of our information at simplechurchtulsa.com. And we'd love to pray for you any way we can. So please message us, and we hope you have a great week.